5. So we're still in a good spot, despite the fact of how tough a year it was. But we give ourselves the best odds that we had hoped for, and we didn't quite get to number 1.
When you're at 3, does the thinking become, and this may not be your decision, but does the thinking become best player, or do you try to address organizational needs?
Yeah, not my decision, and I won't be any part of making that decision. We're going to get a new GM here in the very near future, and that person is going to have to make that decision with his staff.
On that topic, how do you feel the search for a new GM has gone so far, and how far along are you in the process, would you say?
We're a long ways along. The process has been good. We interviewed a lot of people, a good cross-section of people in the hockey world. And we get that, the list is narrowed down now, and just digging deeper and deeper and deeper into people and what they've done in the game. And hopefully get to a decision here by next week.
You spoke about the strength of the top of the draft this year. This has, for a few years, been seen as a pretty deep draft as well. So what do you think about the quality of player you could get, not just at number 3, but with your later first-round pick and your picks in the second round as well?
Well, what I've been told by our amateur staff is they're very confident that we're getting a number of good players in this draft. Now, we don't know where Minnesota's pick's going to be. I don't want to cheer against Minnesota and Quinn and whatnot, but if they get beat out here, obviously we get a better pick. So, but picking at the top of the second and even in the middle of the second, our staff feels very confident. They like players that are going to fall in there. So this could be a game changer for the Canucks if, in fact, the staff hits on 3 or 4 of these players.
A couple from me, Jim. You've been doing this a long time. In your other stops, come draft time, how much of a premium did you put on defensemen, in the sense that in this draft there's 4 guys who project as first pairing guys who could go 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. How much of a premium do you place on drafting defensemen?
Well, a defenseman could even go 1. Yeah. There's guys that are good enough that could go 1. So there's a premium. There's always a premium on right shot defensemen, but I also think there's a premium on centers. When you're building a team that's going to be a championship team, you got to be strong down the middle. And so you got the premium at center ice, and you got the premium on defense.
Do you think you can address both in the first round? Because there are a lot of big centers who are projected to go later in the first round. Nothing against smaller centers, but there's a handful of centers. Do you think you can get a D-man and a center in the first round?
It could happen. Yeah, it's possible.
Jim, you said you're quite far along. Can we assume you're down to top 5, top 3? And you said we. Who's all involved in the interviewing process, and how active is ownership in with this decision?
Ownership's very active, so it's ownership and myself, and we're down now to 5 as we speak.
With the way that the draft went, number 1, obviously you win the lottery big. Your decisions are down to maybe 3 people, 1 to 3. Does it open up the possibility of maybe trades, dropping down, acquiring other picks? And is it something that you would like to have the GM in place sooner because you have more decisions, more options, falling to 3?
Yeah, we want to make sure that we don't get forced on a deadline for the GM. We want to make sure we go through the whole process, but sooner the better, okay? And it's going to depend on, how creative our new general manager is. Does he want to start that game where you get an extra pick and you move down 1 or 2 spots, things like that? Like, clearly there's a lot of good players at the top of the draft. You get a defenseman or a forward. So we'll have to see who that person is. You'll get a chance to ask him soon.
Jim, with the Leafs doing a search at the same time, was there any sort of overlap, or were there any things that maybe changed now that they've made their decision?
I'm sorry,
the Leafs with their process, looking through their guys. Has there been any change? Did anything shift as a result of what you're looking at there?
No, anybody that the Leafs were interviewing, we had the opportunity to interview and accept the person they picked. Okay. So no.
And then, you're down to five. I mean, I know you've had a lot of people come in touch and that kind of thing. I mean, was there anything surprising that emerged as you were talking to people that maybe you hadn't considered when you started out thinking this is what I would be looking for?
Oh yeah. When you interview that many people, there's a lot of information, and I don't know if I want to call it surprises, but things that we didn't know, okay, in their background or how they would go about things. And I mean, I've been through this process before. I don't think ever interviewed as many people as we did this time, but this has been as good a process as I've seen. Like, a lot of interesting people, a lot of interesting ideas how they would approach things. So, going to be a tough decision.
Have you gotten an answer, sorry, Jim, from Patrick about whether he'd accept your offer to stay at the organization at this time or not?
No, I've been talking to I talked to Patrick yesterday at length, and he's still working through that. He took a little time to get away, and he's doing well now, and so he's still thinking through that.
He's not a part of your draft. I mean, his skill at the draft table was pretty well regarded and highly touted when he came in here. How much do you lose if he's not a part of that process for you into this draft?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you asked me that question, because it gives me an opportunity to give Patrick kudos for what he did here in the draft as long as he was here. I think him and the amateur staff drafted very well. We've got a number of good young players, and he's been out on the road watching a lot of players. So yeah, that'll be missed, but he also has reports that he's put in. So still get that information and see where he's coming from, but he's very good at that part of the game.
Jim, how much of the interview process is just gaining intel from other people outside the organization, and have your eyes been opened at all to anything you've heard through this, just about where this franchise is right now?
Oh yeah. I mean, everybody that's one of the questions. Where's the Canucks now? What do you think? How long's the rebuild take? All those things. And different answers on, I mean, some people felt that where we are in the rebuild, that we are, through a rougher patch of it and start to take the upswing on it. I think all of them acknowledge that there are some good young players here, but in a rebuild, there's still lots of work. One of the things, we interviewed some people that could fall into where we draft. And, of course, we asked them about the draft, and the few people that were in that position respectfully declined to give that answer, which I really thought was great. They protected their own team. They protected their own area. But overall, the guys were very upfront, very honest, and clearly, we learned a lot of stuff.
And at that exit media day, there was a little bit of confusion because Evander Kane wasn't here, and there was some talk that he had already done his exit meetings. Does the organization have any interest in bringing Evander back, or have you informed him that he's going to be free to hit the open market?
Well, again, it's going to be up to the new general manager. But I do believe, with the direction the team's going and being younger, right now, if you look at things probably from the trade deadline on, and you're around the players, you saw a difference in that dressing room than probably what you've seen in a while. And I do believe, finally,
Hello.
I mean, I've been here, I think, 4 full seasons now. Finally, that culture started to move.
Hello.
And it started to change. Okay. And the veteran players bought in to the younger players being here. We've got a good group of veteran players that can mentor and can lead. But these young players, their enthusiasm and how they came together has really cleaned up that room and driven the culture going forward. So that's a good start for the next person that comes in. And so when you ask about older players, I would suspect that the new GM may want to add one or two, because you can't lose as much as the Canucks did this year and feel good for the development of players. Okay, the Canucks hit rock bottom this year, and now it should be a time that they gradually keep moving forward to getting back to being a playoff team. Does that take 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? I don't think anybody knows. It wouldn't be wise for somebody to think they know. But within that period of time, keep adding those young players. And if we can add the type of players that are already in there that have got good character, it'll happen sooner than later.
Jim, you said that you've interviewed more people for this job than any other process like this that you've been through. How many?
I don't know exactly, but it was a little, I can safely say it was a little bit north of 15. But I don't have my book here. I can't tell you whether it was 17 or 18, but it was more than 15.
And what about your future? You talked during the end of season about how you were looking to start to wind down your career and move ahead. Have you thought more about that over the last few weeks?
Think about it a lot. And I'm going to get away from the day-to-day operations. I'm going to stay with the team as an advisor and an alternate governor. But as far as the day-to-day operations, we're gonna put together a really good staff here going forward. And this is something I've thought about anyways for a couple of years, but it's time for me to do that. I feel bad that I have to do it at such a young age, but I decided to do it anyways. It'll be effective after the draft. I'll help with the transition and with the new person and new people in different positions and things like that. And but I'll still be part of the organization. When somebody wants to bounce something off me, I'm happy to do it.
So what can we expect when the GM eventually gets hired as far as structure?
Well, hello.
Will there be a president? Will there be other pieces around that? What will that look like?
Yeah, we're still working on that with the people that we have an idea that would be good at it. How that structure is, we'll be able to announce that when the GM's announced.
Are you expecting a president, or will it be something else?
Haven't decided yet. That has not been decided yet. We're going to have to see how that plays out. A number of good defensemen in there. Don't know how high they're going to go. And so until we get to the draft, it'll just be speculation how it ends up falling. But whatever way it falls, we feel very strong that we're getting a really good player. And who that player is, we'll just have to wait and see. So with the disappointment of all the excitement that goes with picking number one, number 3 is still going to be a great building block for the Vancouver Canucks.